sit down at your desk, your screen is blank, and you know what you need to build today. But instead of working, you pick up your phone. You feel a physical resistance to do your work. And as a result, you are paralyzed. So today I'm going to show you the exact 3-step system that took me from absolute no progress to feeling free all my entire life. We will break down the biological root of why you procrastinate, and then we install the exact system so execution becomes your default state. So let us get to work. We need to dismantle a lie right now, and it is the knowledge gap myth. Society tells young builders that they procrastinate because they lack direction, or worse, because they are inherently lazy. But let me tell you something, this is categorically false. You don't lack information, you know exactly what you are avoiding. The breakdown happens at the exact moment of execution. When you sit down to outline a business system or study for your test, an incredible potent wave of psychological resistance hits you, and it feels like a physical wall. To beat this, you must understand your neurobiological background inside your head. Procrastination is not a time management issue, it is strictly an emotional regulation problem. When you face an intimidating or high complex task, your brain enters a literal tug of war. On one side, you have the limbic system. Think of this as the hijacker. It is the ancient emotional part of your brain wired for immediate survival, threat detection, and short term mood repair. It views a difficult or boring task as a psychological threat, and it instinctively demands a fast escape hatch to protect your current emotional state. And on the other side is your prefrontal cortex, and this is the planner, the modern rational architect responsible for long-term goal planning, logic, and consequence evaluation. So when you procrastinate, the limbic system is who wins the battle. It hijacks your body and successfully steers you away from long-term benefits in favor of instant gratification. You must understand the illusion of relativity. Your brain doesn't evaluate effort on an objective scale. Its perception is dictated entirely by contracts. Think about lightning. If you spend 3 hours in the blinding sun and then step in your house, the interior space feels completely black. Your eyes are adjusted to intense brightness. If you wake up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom and turn on the lights, the illumination feels completely blinding, even though the bulb output hasn't changed at all. Your brain interprets cognitive task difficulty in the same way. If you are constantly exposed to hyper-stimulating environments such as the social medias, then your baseline is warped. Agonizingly painful. Shifting your attention from that noise to a blank text document to write an automation script, it feels agonizingly painful by comparison. When I was structuring my first business idea and pushing out my limits, I hit this wall constantly. For example, I would finish my swimming lesson and sit down to build my brand architecture and feel entirely incapable of focusing. The contrast between the high adrenaline physical output and the silent digital work is too vast, and as a result, my brain perceives silence as a threat. So this brings us to the step 2, the backdoor crisis and the psychological of boredom. Why would you choose to review a complex spreadsheet if you can swipe up to a high-produced video? Having an available backdoor guarantees failure, a highly entertaining alternative in your workspace. Traditional self-improvement advise you to set a 5-minute timer or to think positively about your work. But those are temporary bandages. They lose their effectiveness rapidly because they leave the backdoors wide open. So you can fight biology with a timer. Human beings hate understimulation so intensely that they will actively choose physical discomfort over pure boredom. And hear me this, a landmark 2014 demonstrated this perfectly by science. Undergraduate students were placed alone in a place by 15 minutes. They had absolutely nothing but sit with their thoughts. But the only object that was in the room was an electric button that allowed to give themselves an electric shock. And you are not gonna believe this. The results are terrifying. 67% of the men and 25% of the women prefer to shock themselves rather than stayed in the boredom. And several students shocked themselves multiple times. Historically, this human aversion to a lack of external stimulus is why extreme isolation is one of the most severe forms of psychological distress. But here is the ultimate loophole. Because your brain fundamentally hates feeling bored, it will do whatever it takes to keep out from a low stimulus environment. If you isolate yourself with just a specific option, your brain will automatically adjust its baseline. It will begin finding that single option entertaining just to escape the pain of doing nothing. That loophole is the foundation of the step 3, the nuclear system. To build an unbreakable workflow, you must move away from relying on fleeting willpower. You must systematically engineer an environment of absolute contrast. The rule number 1 of this system is radical environmental cleansing. You must completely eliminate any alternative pathway to instant gratification. Physical eviction is your first law. Physically remove your phone, gaming consoles, and secondary screens from your immediate workspace. And don't put your phone face down your desk. It's better if you put it in another room. Next is digital stripping. When working on your computer, auto-hide your desktop toolbar so you are not prompted to click on web browsers. Use aggressive application blockers during your deep work hours. And you must create the blank canvas. So force yourself to sit in a space that is too blank that you have to do the only thing that you have to do in your mind. Or stare at the blank wall. Faced with this extreme contrast, your brain will choose the task every single time. When I am doing my research, my studio is entirely stripped of communication devices. There is no internet access. It's just me and the wall. This friction disappears because the alternatives are gone. Once the back doors are shut, you drastically lower the boundaries of entry to initiate momentum. You deploy the 2-minute rule. When starting a task, scale your expectation to something that takes less than 2 minutes. Tell yourself that you are going just to open the document and type one sentence. You are just going to work like 2 minutes and then you go. You have to hack your mind to tell that you are going just to work by 2 minutes and then you go. And that's it. This triggers the Zeigarnik effect. Human psychology naturally distresses the unfinished loops. Once you force yourself through a 2-minute task, your brain instantly experiences a cognitive dissonance. You finish what you started because stopping feels worse than continuing. So this is how you structure long-term environmental conditioning. Over time, minimizing other alternatives of distractions will make your mind find satisfaction on doing creative, high-complex tasks. Starving your brain of constant, cheap digital stimulation resets your baseline dopamine levels, and ultimately you will stop of lacking of focus. And all the distractions that are not making you have progress, then they will disappear. And you will start building your own empire that you have always dreamed of. So this is the architecture of a professional creator. And to execute this system today, you need to apply this video step by step so you will have the progress. And I know you will do. And I am completely sure that if you take control of your life today, you will have the results. Remember to control your environment, or your environment will control you. Let's create.